Season's creepings, boys and ghouls, the scariest month of the year is here, and with it a downright monstrous amount of new video games. So submitted for your approval of the Midnight Society, here are October 2023's biggest game releases. Before we get started, I will be upfront with you. We try to be as comprehensive as possible in this here video series, but this month we are only going to feature some of the games being released. We'll feature a lot of them, but only some of them, because there are just too damn many to get all of them. We'll have a full list in the video description below, and we'll probably roll the whole thing at the end, like in the movies when they show the credits. But in the interest of time and the mental well-being of our wonderful editor, Chris,
I feel thin. Sort of stretched, like butter scraped over too much bread.
Consider this a highlight reel of the best of the best. On October 3rd, the Lamplighters League looks like a cross between XCOM and The Mummy, the seminal 1999 Brendan Fraser film, not the relative. So expect some crunchy tactical turn-based combat, but with a pulpy adventure novel aesthetic. That's on Xbox Series and PC. Still that day, Pixel Rip 1995 comes to PSVR 2, and this is a virtual reality game where you simulate the experience of being a kid in the 90s playing 16-bit video games on a CRT TV while your mom yells at you. You can also head down to the video store and argue with other kids about which console is better in case you don't get enough of that in our comments section. That is also on MetaQuest and PC VR. If the idea of being virtually transported back to your childhood sounds too nice and you'd rather go to a gross spaceship where everything looks like it's made out of genitals and car parts, Scorn hits PS5 that day as well. This one was previously an Xbox Series console exclusive. It's also on PC, and if you pointed an HR Geeker counter at this thing, it would make a very loud noise. On Switch and PC, you can check out Silent Hope, which looks like a roguelike spin on the classic JRPG format, which will have you managing relationships with party members, but I guess nobody can actually talk because a magical force has taken the world's words, a funny spin on the old silent protagonist trope. Finally, on the 3rd, PC gets Station to Station, a nice chill minimalist train sim that looks like a good way to relax if you feel like everything else in your life has gone off the rails. Choo choo! On the 4th, you can check out the seasonally appropriate The Fabulous Fear Machine, which is a narrative strategy game with a gorgeous pulp horror art style. That's on PC. If you want some grimdark brutality in the distant future with friends, Warhammer 40k Darktide finally hits Xbox Series. The 4-player co-op PvE game has been on PC for quite a while, and a lot of the chatter seems to be that it has a lot of potential, but maybe should have been sold as an early access version. That said, it does seem to be a work in progress, and hey, it's on Game Pass, so it doesn't hurt to check it out. On the 5th, Assassin's Creed goes back to the series' roots with Mirage, which returns to the Middle East in the Middle Ages with a renewed emphasis on sneaking around. Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla had their charms, but there's undoubtedly an audience for a smaller, leaner Assassin's Creed. That's on everything but Switch. If you prefer your historical fiction video games to be a little more loosey-goosey with their accuracy, well, you're in luck because Asterix and Obelix Heroes drops on everything, including Switch, and this time the iconic Gauls are trying their hand at deck building, like the card kind, not like they're putting in a new porch, but that sounds fun too. If an Asterix game is still too historically accurate, but you want a game with Viking hats, Bang on Balls Chronicles is a game about a bunch of silly little balls and all kinds of little hats bouncing around and smashing. And I'm not sure what I expected from a game called Bang on Balls, but it definitely wasn't 2,300 overwhelmingly positive reviews for the early access version on Steam. People seem to like these Bang on Balls. On the 5th, that's on everything. Bang on, you crazy balls. Finally, Switch and PC players can indulge in some Advance Wars style tactical strategy in Wargroove 2. On the 6th, NHL 24 drops. This is the prequel to the fan favorite NHL 94, which takes place 70 years earlier, showing the origins of some of hockey's greatest traditions, such as sticks and pucks and goals. Originally, it was just dudes fighting while ice skating, except for the Hartford Whalers, who got their name for sliding around on pieces of whale blubber they'd tied to their shoes. Is anything I said true? You're gonna have to find out for yourself on Xbox One, Xbox Series, PS4, and PS5. Still on the 6th, Detective Pikachu returns in Detective Pikachu Returns. This time he's gonna solve some more mysteries, drink a lot of coffee, and hang out with his pal Tim, but the sequel shakes things up by letting Pikachu carry a loaded gun. Okay, not really, but why would he even need one? He can electrocute people. It's an extremely deadly rat, and it's on Switch. Also on the Switch on the 6th are The Pale Beyond and Borderlands 3 Ultimate Edition. One of those is a survival RPG about Arctic exploration, and the other is the Ultimate Edition of Borderlands 3. I'll let you figure out which is which. On October 10th, Forza Motorsport comes to Xbox Series and PC, and while Forza gameplay is a safe bet / known quantity, this will be one hell of a visual showcase of what the Series X can do when it's running on all cylinders, proverbially and otherwise. I'm personally very excited that this is finally coming out because that means we'll also get a new Forza Horizon at some point. With all due respect to serious racing enthusiasts concerned with tire pressure on closed courses, I am a dumb moron who likes to make my rocket car covered in anime ladies go off big jumps so I can earn points to buy a dune buggy that looks like the car from Toy Story and sounds like a Windows PC shutting down when it honks. Vroom vroom! If you only have a PlayStation or just think that games developed by unpaid children sounds more fun than Forza, great news because Roblox is coming to PS4 that day as well. Put those kids to work, make a Forza. If you think that Madden takes itself too seriously and want a game more in the spirit of NFL Blitz, Wildcard Football aims to be just that by taking a more playful and cartoony approach. A video game that puts fun over realism? Get out of here. That's on everything. Honkai Star Rail is already on PC and mobile, but on the 11th it comes to PS5, and if you haven't been keeping track, this is another free-to-play RPG from the folks behind Genshin Impact. On Friday the 13th of October, arguably the spookiest day of the calendar year, we are getting a Grinch game? What the Okay, sure, just in time for Christmas, as well as Thanksgiving and Veterans Day and Halloween, you can do some Grinching in The Grinch Christmas Adventures, which is on everything. Probably better suited for a spooky October release date is Lords of the Fallen, a thoroughly rebooted Souls-like that seems to be following the FromSoft playbook pretty attentively, while also adding in a cool mechanic that lets you venture into a parallel shadow dimension where everything is horrible and mean to you, even more so than in the regular dimension. That's on Xbox Series, PS5, and PC. Have you ever wondered what it would be like if a car turned into a robot? Well, a popular toy line and cartoon wondered the very same thing once, and 39 years later, they're still making toy lines and cartoons about it. Now they went and made a video game about that too. Transformers Earthspark Expedition is on everything on the 13th. On October 17th, Diablo 4 really gets in the holiday spirit by kicking off Season of Blood. Yeah, blood. Blood is so metal. Blood is the most metal thing that is liquid. Get the blood, except for Mercury. Get the blood everywhere. Get the blood on the gold, on the swords, on the axes, get it on the wizards, get it on the Diablos. Get that blood all over stuff. Diablo 4, getting more blood. Started on the 17th. Get the blood. Go get that Diablo blood. That's on everything that Diablo 4 is on. Blood. If you'd rather spray rings everywhere instead of blood, Sonic Superstars goes speeding into stores and various online storefronts that day as well, taking the blue blur back to basics with some good old-fashioned 2D platforming plussed up with some modern 2.5D visuals, and that's on everything. Also on everything on the 17th is Skull Island: Rise of Kong, but based on the trailer, you might be more impressed playing the 2005 game based on the Peter Jackson movie. That said, if you want to monkey around, you've got options. On the 18th, Hellboy and the Web of Wyrd gives Big Red the roguelike treatment and translates Mike Mignola's signature stark 2D art style into a gorgeously cel-shaded 3D space. That's on everything. On the 18th, Alaskan Road Truckers hits PC and will be hitting PS5 and Xbox Series at a later date. This self-explanatory simulator had maybe my favorite tagline that I saw at Gamescom, which was, "Be a trucker, not the truck." In terms of gameplay, this means that you can actually get out of your truck and pump gas and chainsaw fallen trees and do stuff like that. But I feel like you can also really delve into it on an existential level. Are you a truck or a trucker? Maybe you should be more of a trucker than a truck. Keep on trucking, and keep that in mind when you're doing truck stuff. On the 19th, the 7th Guest VR comes to PSVR, Quest, and PC, reinventing the classic 90s FMV mystery adventure, modernizing some stuff, but sticking to the script when it comes to the spooky mansion and live-action cast. Agatha Christie Murder on the Orient Express lets you look for clues as Inspector Poirot while presumably twirling a Herculean mustache. That's on everything. Still more mysteries await in The Gap, which is on everything but Switch, though this looks to have less supernatural camp and a bit more atmospheric narrative involving alternate timelines and probably some feelings. If you have a lot of baggage, prefer to keep your expectations grounded, and really think the sky is the limit, I have a flight simulator for you, AirportSim, which gives you a lot of runway to try and stay terminally online running a successful airport without ever actually going into the sky as far as I can tell. That's on PC. Meanwhile, Endless Dungeon is the latest from the folks behind other never-ending games like Endless Space and Endless Legend. Those went the 4X strategy route, but this one's a twin-stick shooter tower defense game, so expect it to be a little bit faster paced. That's on everything but Switch. As a big dumb moron who likes to make his monster truck covered in flame decals go off big jumps so I can earn points to buy a race car that looks like a taco, Hot Wheels Unleashed 2 Turbocharged appeals to me greatly. The first one is a surprisingly solid game about toy cars doing nitrous in a child's bedroom, and this one looks to improve on that formula plenty. That's on everything. If you prefer to get stoned and rock out with Goliath and company, you can wreck a bunch of David Xanatos' expensive stuff in Gargoyles Remastered. You've got your pick of 16-bit graphics doing it old school, or you can have new, fully overhauled art that looks just like the show if the show had much worse cinematography and everything was framed in a wide shot directly from the side. That's on PC, Switch, and the old Xboxes and PlayStations, which means that the new ones can play it too. Gargoyles. You and 3 merry men, or whoever you prefer to hang out with, can have a merry old time in Gangs of Sherwood, a Robin Hood flavored co-op action game that's on PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. October 20th is a huge day for iconic red and blue heroes undergoing terrifying transformations. Marvel's Spider-Man 2 has Peter Parker turning to the dark side with the alien symbiote known as Venom, and Super Mario Wonder has the plumber turning into an elephant? That's terrifying. Which would you rather be, Venom or an elephant that was somehow wearing overalls? Please do not sound off in the comments below. Keep that information to yourself. I don't need to know that kind of stuff. One of those games is on PlayStation and one of them's on Nintendo. I think you can probably sort that one out too. On the 24th, Cities Skylines 2 comes to PC, and it adds a frightening amount of depth and scale and complexity to foundations laid by the first game, so if you've ever wanted to be responsible for the well-being of a whole bustling urban metropolis, this is your chance to do so without having to run for election or go to school for something real big, grown-up, and serious. Just Dance 2024 comes to Switch, Xbox Series, and PS5, and I'm flat out surprised this isn't also getting Xbox One and PS4 versions, considering that Ubisoft was still releasing this game on Wii 3 years ago. If your fantasies are a little more fantastical, you can have some more whimsical and conventional escapism in the Guns and Sorcery RPG Dark Envoy on PC, or The Lord of the Rings Return to Moria, which is essentially a Tolkien take on Deep Rock Galactic, starring everyone's favorite Super Moria brothers, the Dwarves. That's coming to PC and PS5 this month, but the Xbox Series version's been pushed to next year. Love really will bloom on the battlefield when Metal Gear Solid: The Master Collection Volume 1 drops that day on PC, Switch, PS5, and Xbox Series. These are some of my favorite games of all time, and I'm so excited to revisit them. I could soak myself in wolf piss, slip in seagull and spin around so fast that I barf, which are all things you can do in those games. They're really weird. On the 26th, Dave the Diver surfaces on Nintendo Switch, and if you haven't heard about this one, keep it on your radar, or I guess your sonar, because it's had a phenomenal reception on PC, and I think it'll be making quite a splash when everyone starts arguing about the best games of the year in a variety of completely arbitrary categories. I don't know, maybe this will win like Best Indie, Biggest Surprise, Art Direction. I'm just spinning my wheels here. People seem to like the fun fish game. If bustin' makes you feel good, you can cross the streams in Ghostbusters: Rise of the Ghost Lord on PSVR 2 and MetaQuest that very same day. If you prefer ghost running to ghost busting, Ghost Runner 2 is also out on the 26th for PS5, Xbox Series, and PC, taking the first-person hack-and-slash cyber parkour formula that made the first game a hit, and adding some new tricks like a parry system and a sick motorcycle. On October 27th, Alan Wake 2 makes his long-awaited return in Remedy's surreal spin on survival horror, which also features the return of a New York cop in a leather trench coat who looks like Sam Lake, but he isn't Max Payne, probably for legal reasons. I'm intrigued. That's on PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. Something in a similar vein that is a wholly different product is Desolation, which is on everything. That is a point-and-click love letter to H.P. Lovecraft, something that we've seen plenty of before, but not with an aesthetic like this, and maybe more game studios should pump some skill points into art direction over sheer graphical fidelity, because it really makes a game stick out. On Halloween proper, you can experience the existential horror of a 30-player rhythm-based battle royale where everyone plays as pigeons in Headbangers Rhythm Royale. That's on everything. If that's not scary enough, there's also Stray Souls, which is not so much a Souls-like as it is a Hills-like, given that it's a survival horror set in a foggy small town a bit like Silent Hill. That's on the Xboxes, PlayStations, and PC. At some point this month, we're expecting the newly Unreal 5-ified Ark Survival Ascended to drop on New Gen and PC, as well as the console release of Phasmophobia, but as of recording this very video, that information is not readily available. And there you have it. Like I said, we didn't hit on all of the games, but that is most of them, and here is a full list. You can find a non-scrolling version in the description that hopefully holds still while you look at it. If this one doesn't, you should probably get that checked out. Well, that's rolling by, a friendly reminder that sometimes we make mistakes, and I know that everyone likes to dogpile on IGN anytime we screw something up, but please try to remember, this is a company made up of human beings who do their best to produce content that informs and entertains you at no additional cost to you, dear viewer. And two things are true of human beings. One, they make mistakes sometimes, and two, they have feelings, so please try and keep that in mind when you comment on our stuff, or really anywhere else. Reading a crappy comment feels a lot like dealing with like one rude customer when I worked retail. It didn't actually cause me any harm, but it still kind of puts me in a bad mood for the rest of my day, even if all the other customers were perfectly pleasant and nice. Just that like one little thing that just kind of sticks with you and puts you in a bad mood. Most of you are really nice, and I really appreciate that. One comment I want to call out, I wasn't particularly mean, but I want to address it. On last month's video, RatTex1 on YouTube wrote, he missed a lot of games coming this month. Like, how could you forget about Dragon Quest: The Adventures of Dai? Because I forgot, dude. Sometimes I forget to switch the clothes from the washer to the dryer and they sit there for too long and they smell weird, and then my wife gets mad at me because her favorite shirt smells like an old log no matter how many times we wash it, and so I have to boil it in a pot of water to get rid of the musty log smell, and I genuinely wish I was making that up. So yes, I forgot a Dragon Quest game because there have been, what, 11 mainline entries and 18 spin-off series, something like that. I also preemptively forgot Smurfs Kart, NASCAR Arcade Rush, and Avatar: The Last Airbender: The Quest for Balance because they had their release dates announced after the video had been written, shot, and edited, which happens fairly frequently, and it's a real pain in the patoot. The biggest mistake I made was saying that Cyberpunk 2077's Phantom Liberty expansion was coming to all platforms because usually story DLC comes to all the platforms the main game is on, but understandably, CDPR opted to ditch last gen. I feel like we're gonna see more of that as we go along. I guess Final Fantasy VII, the remake, did that. They had the PS5 one where you played as Yuffie, something like that. Anyway, all grousing aside, I have a ton of fun making these videos, and I really, really appreciate everyone who watches them and everyone who jumps in the comments and says shockingly nice things about the people who work at IGN, specifically me. But really, everyone who works on this video, Chris, Amanda, you all work incredibly hard. Thank you so much.
Oh, God.
In the meantime, if you want more of this dumb face, you can watch me on IGN's PlayStation show, Podcast Beyond, every week, where I'm considerably less witty because I don't have a script in front of me. On that note, I'll see you later. Happy Halloween.